Welcome to the Real Mom Hub, where we celebrate the beautiful, profound transformation into motherhood.
It's a journey that shatters and rebuilds us in incredible ways. We share the voices of everyday moms honing and discovering their natural instincts and superpowers.
We talk to experts to try and make sense of our minds and bodies.
We air out the hard parts of parenting people don't like to talk about.
Because let's be honest, motherhood is as hard as it is joyful.
So why not embrace it? Lean into the growth, the struggle, the magic. This is your opportunity for complete and utter personal transformation.
Come with us. We're so glad you're here.
Is it better? Okay, great. Yeah. I was like texting you because a lot of times people like need a little hand holding, which is really understandable.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, chill and ready. And I was like, all right.
Well, I haven't done anything else today except express my breast.
Oh. It's kind of great. I kind of love that for you.
Drink a very large amount of caffeine.
Good for you. Good for you.
And water, or are you only caffeine? Okay, good job.
Oh, I love the
Good
strawberries.
It's so full
festive.
from this morning, though.
Oh, okay, that's your assignment over the next hour.
Get after it. You're breastfeeding. Thanks for joining us. We're so thrilled to have you. Are you Kate or Katie these days?
You know, I respond to many things. Most people call me Katie, except my husband, who calls me Catherine and refuses to call me anything else.
That's funny.
Your husband calls you Catherine?
Yep.
That's incredible.
He's very formal.
Can I tell you? Okay, I need to tell you. So for our listeners, Katie and I went to college together. And I just need to tell you how you are in my phone right now. Katie Megalodon Vanderbilt is what you are in my contact. I don't even remember when that came up. I think
that we had like a weekend when somebody had access to cable television and the Sci-Fi Channel was playing very bad movies. Like it's when Sharknado made its first appearance.
Yes.
And then there was something about a swamp shark, like it was a shark in the bayou, but it was an alligator shark. It was like armored. So then I thought a good movie would be a megalodon gator shark. And so we just said that too many times.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, you guys, I don't know what a megalodon is.
It's like
I don't
predecessor to the shark.
Oh, yeah.
Way back in the... I am not a paleontologist, so I will use
it's giant.
It's terrifying.
Oh my gosh. This is like one of those things like Nessie that I would just like look up to scare myself.
Except I think Nessie might not be real, and there's evidence that this thing is real. Except if you talk to a Scottish person, they will tell me Nessie is
That's
real.
What I'm saying. I read enough like Scottish historical romance when I'm postpartum that Nessie's real to me.
Okay, welcome to the pod. We're thrilled to have you. I would love if you could just tell our listeners kind of what a standard day looks like for you. You could choose your current period and tell us a little bit about that, or your hopes for the future in the next few months, whichever you prefer.
How about both?
I love it.
I recently had our second baby. My husband and I live in the Twin Cities. And prior to having my second baby, I was working as a nurse-midwife at a hospital. So a normal day for me would have been like getting up, trying to help my husband get our toddler out the house into daycare, although I am not a morning person, so I wait until the absolute last second to get out of bed, which is beyond a fatal flaw of mine. Like it's really not a good look, especially when you have children.
And your husband's getting your toddler out the door. I kind of love it.
Yeah. He would prefer that I work on that, I think. And then I would run off to work, and I think it ends up being about 75% of the time I'd work in the clinic setting. So like doing like prenatal care, gynecology care, annual exams, helping people navigate family planning, things like that. And then the other 25% of the time I'm on call at the hospital in 24-hour chunks. So there'd be like large amount of times.
24-hour chunks, is that what you just said?
Yeah, so there'd be long periods of time when I wouldn't be at home. And my husband is a trooper. One of my professors in graduate school when I was studying to be a midwife said that all of your partners are getting their PNM degree, partner nurse midwife,
Oh,
because
yeah.
and I don't think it's just nurse midwives, it's all midwives. Any partner of a midwife is signing up with them for the schedule because it's not a great one. And then the rest of the time is either catching up on sleep from that whole not sleeping for 24 hours part or hanging out with my kid. I had a wickedly wild pregnancy with my second kiddo. I ended up getting really sick when I was 14 weeks pregnant and was actually in the ICU. And so I haven't really worked since September.
Wow.
And it's now April. I just went back to work last week. And I have no idea how it's going to unfold with two little kids, but we'll
How
see.
old is your second?
She's 12 weeks, but she was 2 months early. So I just dropped her off at daycare this morning for the first time and had a moment because she's like the equivalent of a month-old baby, and I was really sad. But
Oh my goodness.
our daycare provider sent me tons of pictures already, so made me
That's
feel a little
awesome.
better.
Is
Wow.
it the
Thank you for
same?
being here on that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually thought it'd be a good distraction and remind me that, like, I do really like being a mom.
I hope so. We'll work on that.
Yeah, the points when motherhood just breaks you and you're just
Oh, that's
so
like
sad.
most days.
Yeah, but this one I would guess is particularly
There's
poignant.
kind of an unsympathetic mom in the lobby too. Like as I was dropping the baby off and crying, she's like, "Oh, it's fine." And I was like, "I don't know, I'm just like really feeling it." She goes, "Ah, it was easier for me the second time." And then she just walked away. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
hopefully she just really has to get to work because that was not the validation I was needing in the moment. So I appreciate
Oh my
It was a little
gosh.
your
savage.
No.
advices.
It is, as someone that dropped 2 babies off at daycare, well, I guess, yeah, the first one was daycare, the second one was home care. I was visiting Emily and Kyle last summer, and I was just in this random Starbucks, and this mom came in crying, and, like, I don't know, she must have, like, looked at me, I think I had my kids, and she just, like, told me, "This is the first day I'm dropping my kid at daycare," so we're, like, both in Starbucks crying, like, "It'll be worth it, it's okay."
Yeah,
It's hard, it's really
it's
hard.
really hard.
Ugh.
But our 2-year-old, well, she's 2.5 now, but she freaking loves that place. Like, she walks in,
Yeah.
she's, like, saying hi to everyone, all the staff, giving people hugs, high fives. I'm like, "Well, she likes it, so it
Amazing.
must be okay."
Yeah. I think it can be really good for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's a whole ecosystem, right? Like the women that you care for are so lucky to get your care.
Mhm.
You've always had a big brain and curiosity. So for you to be able to give that to your community,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
ecosystem, all people have, I mean, all the pieces of the ecosystem have to do what's needed for
Mhm.
Totally.
you to participate in that whole thing.
Yeah,
And I
you're
would
literally the
say,
reason there'll be more babies.
Uh-huh, 100%. And also
well,
like,
it comes down to something a little bit that I'm not involved in, Kelly.
right.
Yeah, but, like, if you have terrible care, that plays a role in, like, will I have another one?
That's
That's
true.
true.
Honestly.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And also as a woman, I will never go to a male OBGYN, frankly. I've
I
actually
did it
never
once, it was
heard
bad.
if there's a male midwife. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just like, listen, if you haven't even had a period, I don't want to hear from you. If you're an expert and you're going to see me like a couple times for visits for a specific reason, cool, 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 cool. But like if you're going to walk with me on my whole journey, I actually like have no interest in what you have to say to me no matter how educated you are. That's just my personal opinion. So
Yeah.
then if we want moms, if we want women to be doing this work and serving other women,
Yeah.
it is really helpful when they're moms themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or at least really understand that, like, transcendental morphing into a mom.
The
Yeah.
transcends.
It's funny
Yeah.
that you say that, Emily, because actually the reason why I became a midwife is because of a male midwife. So
What?
Whoa.
Tell
yeah,
Tell
me
us.
more.
I worked as like a tech on a labor and delivery floor just by chance. I like kind of fell into this job when I was thinking of becoming a nurse, and there was a male midwife that worked there, and he was like incredible. I was like, I didn't even know that nurse midwives existed, first of all. Like, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to them. And then I saw this person just like providing a different kind of care than I had ever really been exposed to in the medical system or really just anywhere to these families. And I was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
Mhm.
And so then I think we have a few similarities, Emily. I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do that.
I love it.
See, I said I'm gonna be a nurse midwife, and then I realized how much school it would take, and I was like, I'm out.
Was it the school or was it because you watched too many episodes of Call the Midwife?
Oh, that was probably part of it. Actually, no, it was working as a CN or CNN, CNA in a nursing home. Between that and the school, I was like, not for me. But I'm so glad you're here to do it, Katie.
So I'm feeling really lucky about this convo today. Well, lots of reasons. First, I get to catch up with my friend Katie, but also for our listeners, took a two for one, because we get to hear about your motherhood journey, which you're in the thick of, and then I want to get into the expert side of you and hear about your work. So let's start with the motherhood, and then we can kind of like weave around like spaghetti as conversations usually do.
As we do.
I want to know what shook you to your core, like what was shocking to you about motherhood.
Is the answer all of it an option?
Yep.
I mean, top 3, I don't know.
I always knew I wanted to be a mom in some capacity. I didn't always know, like, I did not think that I would like find a partner, which is really funny because I like met my partner and then got married like pretty quickly. Yeah, like in the span of 3 years, I like met my partner, we bought a house, got married, and had a kid. So I just like knew right away. But I always would like, I don't know, I would like talk pretty regularly about like when I have kids kind of a thing. But I never really thought about like when I become a mom. Like those two things weren't separate for me, but my experience was like pretty, very separate. Like I had my daughter, but I did not feel like a mom. Like that part took a long time for me.
Like how long? Do you
Like I
remember?
would say until I had my second child.
Oh.
Like there were moments when I would say like I knew I was her mom, but I wouldn't say I felt like I had undergone my matrescence, if you will. Like I was just like a person who had a kid, and I think it was because I experienced I don't there isn't like a way to quantify it, but I did experience some postpartum mood stuff in a way that I think I was just super dissociated like from that transition process until I was in a spot to experience it differently.
So it's funny. I'm like, wow, it took you that long till you had a kid. And then as soon as you said, I just felt like a person who had a kid, I'm like, oh, that's actually the only way I feel right now. So it's still. So what about having a second kid made you feel like a mom then?
I think like I had to work through a lot of trauma around the birth of my first child, and then have my postpartum mood and anxiety disorder like properly treated, which we can talk more about later because that influences definitely how I midwife now, to like really get back to like me as myself and not this person who is experiencing all this trying to like protect myself from my body. I like was in fight or flight all the time. Like I was running away from a bear. Like I couldn't be running away from a bear and experience matrescence at the same time. Like I don't know, my brain wouldn't let me do it. So once I processed that stuff and like kind of came down from that fight or flight response, I think that's when I started to feel more like a mom. But it almost was like flipping a light switch after I had my second. I was like, oh, now I feel it. I don't know how to describe it. It was a very different experience.
So has postpartum been more uplifting? We could say the second
I mean,
time.
it's had its challenges. I wouldn't say it has been like what I thought it would be the first time, like
Sure.
daisies and roses and like just snuggling my baby. But it definitely has been like a more positive experience and had a lot more moments of joy. And I think I've just also let myself sit in the moments of discomfort of like, this is a transformation, and viewing it like that kind of an experience too.
It's honestly kind of heartening to hear that you were a nurse midwife before having a child and still were so unprepared for how emotionally taxing postpartum can be.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, you know, even yourself who, like, diagnoses these things in other women, right? Like, did you have a hard time noticing that you were actually having those symptoms?
At first, kind of. I think I felt like people around me were maybe downplaying it themselves a little bit just to, like, try and protect me maybe, like,
Or
"Oh,
themselves?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if we
Yeah.
just, like, pretend this isn't as bad, like, she'll feel better." That's how
Yeah.
it felt to me, but I think they also it was just like my baby I joke that I, like, gestate only for 7 months because both my babies were born right around 32 weeks,
Oh, wow.
due to preeclampsia, and the first time it was super unexpected. The second time we were, like, really prepared for it just because we had been through it before, but everyone around me was traumatized, and so I don't it took a while to, like, have the people around me, I think, understand the extent to which I was not feeling myself. And you had shared on another episode, Callie, about Deemer. I
Mhm.
also experienced Deemer.
Where all these moms are coming out of the woodworks. We need to have a
Yes,
Deemer expert
Right?
on.
I think people just think it's normal, especially if it's your first time, like, breast or chest feeding, and you're like, I guess maybe you feel terrible while you're doing it. But I
Yeah.
had heard of one other of my clients having it, and I was like, this can't be a thing. No way. And then I would be pumping in the NICU with my baby, and I would be having these, like, really disturbing, intrusive thoughts and feeling like utter despair when my milk would
Yes.
let down. And I was like, this can't be right. And I will say, probably like you, I spent most of my time educating my own care providers on what it actually was. And it was pretty hard to find someone who I felt like was helpful. Most people's advice was just go on the website about Deemer and just read what the symptoms are, and that should help you feel better. And I was
Well,
like, well,
and then it's like, what do you
Yeah.
like? Some people are like, have a cold glass of water by your side. I mean, I haven't come across any solutions.
I had an
wow.
OB with my first, and she just literally said, "Oh, I've never heard of that," and, like, moved right along. That was it.
Yeah.
It's like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah, there
So,
isn't a ton of research on it, and I'm sure as you both know, you're both individuals who take it upon yourself to, like, learn things about different topics, and there's a lot of things in women's health that we just don't have a lot of information about.
Yeah.
such as preeclampsia. Who cares? Just like one of the highest mortality factors for women
Yeah,
and babies. No big
and then we
deal.
say to people all the time, "We don't really know what causes it, but this is our best guess."
Oh my
That's, like, pretty
gosh.
much everything.
Yeah, that's wild. So, I mean, I'm just thinking back to your experience of being someone who is in clinic and talking to postpartum moms about having hormonal disorders, etc. And, being so in the tunnel yourself. It's hard to know with the first, especially. And also, the
Totally.
people around you are so traumatized and in the tunnel from you. I mean, how long did it take you to get it treated?
It definitely impacted my breastfeeding journey. Like, I was so miserable, and every day it was like a conscious decision to be like, I don't want to do. I would like think like I can't do this anymore, and then I would choose to keep doing it.
Were you exclusively having to pump at this point?
At the beginning, I was just because my baby was being fed by
Right.
an NG tube.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
but once she started feeding at the breast, then I was using a shield because she
Mhm.
was premature. So I never had like that skin to skin contact of
Mhm.
breastfeeding. And once I was able to do that, it was better. I think there must have been like more oxytocin release or something,
Mhm.
because it was less distressing for me, or my symptoms weren't as bad with like actual skin on skin
Mhm.
breastfeeding. But then I went back to work, and I have the gift and the curse of being able to hyper focus on things. And I would just work through my pump breaks because I was like, I'm just going
Oh.
to get this done. So then my supply was an issue, to nobody's
Mhm.
fault, but just like logistics. Anyways, I worked so hard at breastfeeding, and then my baby decided that at 6 months of age, she was not going to latch on the breast anymore.
Whoa.
And I tried like all the things.
Like, you're a midwife. Like, you
Yeah,
know
like
all the
it
things.
was not a nursing strike. She was just done. Like, and then I pumped for like a couple more weeks, and then she started refusing my pumped milk too. And I was like,
What?
the nerve.
Honestly. Were you supplementing?
Yes.
So she would take that?
Yeah, just
What
fine.
a weenie.
Yep. And you know what? It is totally her personality now.
I was just
She
gonna
is
ask that.
fiercely independent. And if you cannot make a decision for that girl, like she will do it herself. She's extremely petite, and you would think that if you just like heard stories about her, you would think that she was like such a large being. She's not.
Just a little
She's
firecracker.
Oh, totally. She goes
love
to a
it.
Spanish immersion daycare. And for listeners, I am not a fluent Spanish speaker. So, oh my
You're
gosh.
postpartum. It's okay.
Spanish speaker. But I'll try my best. I'll paint the picture for you. Sitting at the dining room table, and we try really hard to sit down and eat as a family on nights that we're together. We're sitting down and we're eating, and she just looks at me and wags her finger at me, and in the sassiest voice says, "Me llamas mujer, okay? Okay?" Which I believe to mean, you call me woman, okay?
I mean, okay.
She also has curly red hair, which makes everything she says way better.
That's incredible. Is that from Hub's side?
Nope, we don't know where it came from, which is really funny because I also, this is embarrassing to say on a podcast, kind of had a thing for redheads.
Wait.
You didn't know about this? Obviously.
No,
Yeah, like I had a thing for redheads, and I was like, I just want a redheaded kid. And then I married a guy who one of our other friends thinks I look like, which is a little creepy.
Emily and Kyle look similar too.
I don't think so, but we do get like siblings are married all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, so my husband has brown hair and hazel eyes, and we have a like strawberry blonde, curly haired kid. It's great.
Woman.
She's a woman. She's not a kid.
She's I need to meet
It's
her.
so
That's
funny.
incredible.
She's very funny. She self-weaned herself, and I worked so hard to breastfeed. I had Deemer. I was totally dissociated from my body and just like my emotional experience because I was super traumatized from my pregnancy and my birth and going through this NICU experience. I felt like I should be an expert on what was happening, and not at all. Like, I totally underreacted to what was happening in my body before, after, during. Like, I know all of the symptoms of preeclampsia, right? Like,
yes.
just ignored them until I was like so sick. Like,
Really?
couldn't breathe. Yeah. Like, coughing up blood. Like,
Oh
it's not
my
good.
gosh.
And I was just like,
were
yeah.
you at home during this period?
Yes. Yeah. I worked 2 days before
Catherine.
then. I attended a lovely water birth 2 days before it and was like, pregnancy is so hard. Like, how are all these women just walking around 38, 39, 40 weeks pregnant? Like, do they not feel like they're dying? But I just
Probably
thought that
not.
was normal.
Wow.
I thought I was the world's biggest wimp. No, it turns out I was sick, right? So, like,
So at this point, were you with a midwife team or did you have OB
Yes.
care?
I was getting midwifery care in the
Okay.
practice that I worked at, which was actually an out-of-hospital practice. So I
Oh.
was like getting really exceptional care. Like, it was no fault of my care team. It was 100% just like me trying to convince myself that this is just normal to feel this way. And I hear this a lot from people. Like, I just thought this was normal, right? Like, I see people in the clinic and I'm like, why was this happening? And they're like, oh, I just thought this is how you feel.
Okay,
Not
can
just
you give us a quick checklist? Like,
Oh,
if you
sure.
have this, and this, and this, like, tell your care provider.
Yeah. So, and then Kelly, maybe you can edit in like, none of this is medical advice.
Yeah, I'll just leave that in.
We have
It's
a
not
little- we have a
official medical
disclaimer
advice.
at the end of the
Yes.
every episode.
And anything that I say is not the opinion of my employer either. It's solely my own. But
Sure.
so things that can be signs of preeclampsia are like a sudden drastic change in your body weight that happens in a short amount of time, because that can be a sign of swelling. Like, swelling in your legs can be normal, but swelling can also not be normal. And there are a lot of things in pregnancy that are like that. We're like, like having a headache. Like, what mom doesn't get a headache at some point in her pregnancy, right?
Or
But,
every day
like,
for some stretches.
Or even like shortness of breath can feel
Right.
really normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
Coughing up blood.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's when I went in. I was
Okay.
like, but you know what's funny, you guys? I still did not think I had preeclampsia. I was like, oh, I must have COVID pneumonia. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I have the ability to completely overreact and like not to trivialize like an actual mental health disorder, be a little bit of a hypochondriac, or completely downplay what's going on.
Just the extremes. No middle
Yeah.
ground here.
I mean, that's pretty much everything about my personality, though. Like,
Your daughter doesn't surprise me as much
Yeah, I
after
know.
hearing
No
you
one's
talk more.
shocked.
like I'm either awake or sleeping. Like there's no in between. So yes, shortness of breath is another one. Having a headache that doesn't get better when you take medication to relieve your headache. So if you're a headachy person and you normally take Tylenol and your headache goes away, and then this time you took Tylenol and it didn't go away, that would be a reason to reach out to your care provider too, as well as like a host of other things too. Turns out I was experiencing all of them, and I would keep checking my blood pressure, which is one of the things that we know about preeclampsia is having high blood pressure. And it would always be normal, but just under the cutoff for what is considered abnormal.
Oh.
So it was a little bit of an atypical presentation.
Oh, because I literally just think of preeclampsia as super high blood pressure.
Yeah, most people do. And honestly, even some care providers probably look at it that way. We're actually, and Kelly, you are also in the Midwest, correct?
Yes.
We're really lucky in the Midwest to have pretty good obstetrical care with pretty good outcomes when compared to the rest of the country. But like if you go some places like in the southern states of the United States, like the outcomes aren't as good, the care quality isn't as good, the culture of the care is just different. And so we're really lucky in the Midwest to have a lot of very aware and very competent OB providers, whether it be a nurse practitioner, a midwife of multiple kinds, obstetricians too. But high blood pressure is part of the diagnostic criteria, but it's not really the whole disease process. It involves all the systems of your body that are affected by your vasculature. So mainly your kidneys and your liver.
Mhm.
So you can have issues with those two systems and have blood pressure that's not that crazy high.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious because women are gaslit all the time in the medical system. You literally gaslit yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's super common. I think we all do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure women have a much higher pain tolerance, discomfort tolerance than most men. I think we've proven that. I don't have any studies that I can link here, but I'm pretty sure I've read about this. Are there other common themes that you see your clients or your patients ignoring or maybe are missed by a lot of care providers? I'm just looking for a little bit of validation for our listeners. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of things that women like, and not just even when they're pregnant, but like even outside of pregnancy. Like I see a fair number of people who are experiencing hormonal endocrine disorders, like PCOS, for example. And not everyone with PCOS, it's kind of like a misconception that all people with PCOS may struggle with their body weight or struggle with trying to change their body size or having a higher body weight. That's not always the case, but often people are like, oh, I should just try harder, or care providers will just tell them, well, eat less and move more. Obviously, that's the solution to changing your body size. It's just not true. Like, it's such an interconnected system. Sometimes trying to change your body size and not being successful in the way you want is a symptom of PCOS because you have insulin resistance. Your body isn't going to utilize energy the same way. I think that's a big one. It's very complicated. And we often just tell people like, well, this is normal or just do better. And it often isn't. It's not a matter of willpower for almost
Well, I
anything.
sometimes think women don't acknowledge symptoms or like try to get them diagnosed because we're trying to power through and like not put people out or like not like stupid in
Totally.
front of the care provider or like, like so many reasons.
Or
When
you're like, I
actually,
don't have time because I don't
honestly,
have time to be sick, or I don't have time to be uncomfortable because my priority is taking care of my kids, or I have to go to work,
yes.
or not just people who are parents, but anybody. Like you have so many other things to do.
But really, like, if we did address it, it would do everybody a favor. Like, not that I
Also,
do, but
back to the gaslighting thing, if you go to a care provider or your partner or your mom or your sister enough times and say, I feel like something's wrong, and enough people tell you you're fine, eventually you're just going to stop saying anything.
Yes.
Or at least that's been my own experience. I'm not like the people around me are trying to harm me in any way. But like, it's like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, something like that, right?
yes, that's so true.
Yeah,
Like,
like
people
you
that really
only,
care about you are good people, like,
yeah.
might just discount it.
But like learned behavior, like if you get discounted enough, you'll just stop doing the thing.
Well, and it's
Great
interesting.
point.
I've noticed, I think it's a generational thing too. I think millennials and younger, there's a big theme where women are fighting for better care. I think we're more willing to take up space and use our voices to
Hmm.
say we would like better. And I've
Yep.
noticed women in their 50s and 60s in my life kind of being like, well, why? Every woman goes through
I
this,
made
just
it
suck it
through.
up. I did it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had like I didn't have the resources that you have now. Why do you think that this is something that you know what I mean? It's just really
Totally.
fascinating. Like it is a cultural issue.
Yeah. Or people do that in labor all the time. I don't know if you have heard, like, you're like, women have been doing this for 1,000 years. Like, I can suffer. And I'm like, okay, I have a big soapbox about the line between
Okay, tell me, because I told
Let's go.
myself that for sure in labor.
if that is a helpful coping tool, then it's a great thing to tell yourself.
Okay.
But if you're telling yourself that because you want to be okay with suffering and you feel like you're not, that's when I have a problem with it.
Sure.
Like there's a line between coping and suffering. And once you cross that line, that's when I think we get into an area where we could be potentially putting ourselves into a situation where we might have some trauma around the situation later on.
Really interesting. Okay. And also, since we started off this conversation with you being in a tunnel and the people around you being in the tunnel, do you have good not metrics, but do you have tells or do you have things that you look for or you have your clients look for when you're trying to figure out, hey, you're straddling that line between coping and suffering? Like, what are the differences? When are we crossing over into suffering from coping?
Oh, I just ask people.
What do
I
you
like
mean though? Like,
I
how do
like
you
use that terminology, or I'll like
Sure.
see that the person is kind of gone to a different place in a way, like they're not responding as much when I'm talking to them. They
Oh.
kind of are like staring off into space. They're not hearing what's going on in the room. They're disoriented. I am not a trauma specialist by any means, but I try to be trauma informed
Sure.
just in the way I move about the world, not just as a midwife, but just as a human being. But those are times when I say, it seems like you're no longer coping. What I just ask, I mean, that's kind of just my way as a provider in general. I just ask people, it seems
Yeah.
like you're not coping. What's your experience?
So what's okay, so I'm just thinking about my own delivery, which was 54 hours, and I have a history of migraines that are so insane that sometimes I don't know where I am or like who I am,
Yeah.
can't vomiting, can't keep water down. I don't
Oh,
really get them that bad anymore. It was mostly when I was a kid. My whole point is I learned how to build pain castles inside myself and kind of just like disappear into them.
yeah.
Like Kyle knows it's like a meditative state to manage the pain. Like Kyle knows not to, if I'm in a migraine, he knows to give me water, make sure the room's dark, whatever. That was where I was for most of this 54 hours. I had no idea the labor was going that long because I was in that place. And at the time, and until you just said this, I would have said, well, I was just coping. I was coping,
And that, like, for you may have been coping, right?
But then I had medical providers, multiple separately after the delivery, say to me, just so you know, this was a medically traumatic event. And at the time I was like, why is that helpful? Why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
So
Was it
I'm just putting these pieces together right
was it
now.
the pain that was traumatic, or was it like the not getting to make choices around your care and being told what was going to happen to you and having a C-section and not having that be part of your preferences?
I
Was
don't
that
know.
traumatic, or was it the pain? Because those two things are really different to me.
Sure. I don't honestly identify any of it as a trauma.
Yeah. Then that's
So, but I'm more curious about like why they felt it wasn't. Does that make sense? Like why multiple providers
yeah.
felt the need to identify that for me when I thought I was
Yeah.
just coping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Probably because I don't know. I don't know your whole story, but there's a such thing as secondary trauma either that care providers experience where they are traumatized by somebody else's medical experience.
Jeez, I'm
Um,
sure.
my husband is actually a trauma therapist, and so he's probably better at explaining it than I am.
Is he
Um,
really?
yeah, it makes it
Whoa.
You
really
guys
hard.
are formidable
Yeah.
as a couple.
It also makes it really hard to have an argument. Like, he's so wonderful, but sometimes I'm like, "Would you just spar with me, please?" just want to fight
Traumatize
about
me.
it. I want to fight about it. Like,
I mean-
stop using your coping skills.
Probably helpful for you, though, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Hey, Cal, do you
Hey.
remember when I was first pregnant, one of the first questions I came to you in a panic over?
What do I wear?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, what the heck do I put on my body? And do you remember the first recommendation you had for me?
I'm sure it was Kindred Bravely because I tell every single new mom that they have to look into Kindred Bravely.
Yeah, no, that was how I remembered it too. Yeah, I think
Okay.
specifically the leggings. Were
Yeah,
the, were the
fave
starting-
products. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Leggings, bras. I mean, everything in between. You know what I've been wearing recently, which is funny? They're really nice bamboo, no slip, like hospital socks.
Shut the front door.
I was out of socks, put them on. They were so nice. I haven't taken them out for 3 days.
I've never tried those. They're incredible. All of the things I've had from them, I've had for like 3 years. No wear and tear even.
No, it's
Somehow they don't pill. They're airy. I mean, yeah, phenomenal product. And this company is founded by women. It's led by women, moms specifically. So they get us. We love them.
So how do listeners support this mom-owned business?
They can use the link in our show notes. Start there and make sure that you enter our code, TheRealMomHub15 at checkout for 15% off your purchase.
And you can buy all these staples that honestly you'll keep in your drawers long after maternity, postpartum season is done for you.
Yeah, I never put mine away. My
Worth
body
it.
shrank back almost back to normal.
And so did
And
the clothes.
The leggings still
Mhm.
fit me.
Incredible.
How? We don't know.
Incredible.
We don't know, but we love them. Thank you, Kindred Bravely.
I'm just hearing you like talk about all this, wishing that I had you as my midwife, but also just thinking like, honestly, I know it's hard to have your kids in daycare because I've done it, but like your girls are you have 2 girls?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to know what you're doing someday and they're going to be like, thank God for my mom. Like truly, I wish I had that kind of care and I haven't yet. I'm working on it, but
Yeah.
just to like feel seen by a provider and like really listen to and have more than a 20-minute long appointment sounds like
Yeah.
pampering.
And some of that too is just like structures of the system. Like
Mhm.
that's what sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had more time, like this person needs more time. And then we of course get like graded on our care. And it's like, this person was running late. And I want to call them up and be like, listen, the person before you really needed more time today. Like we
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in their life, but
Yeah.
I can't tell it. You can't tell anyone. Like, yeah.
That's a good reminder for me. Because I'm waiting 25 minutes past my appointment time in a major hospital.
Are there reoccurring wins or joys in your mothering journey?
There's a lot of joy. I had an art therapist that I encountered in my early to mid 20s that would talk about not like gratitude, because sometimes things have to seem really big to make it on your gratitude list, right?
Mhm.
But she would call them ordinary moments of joy. And so I feel like I
like
have
that.
a ton of those things that I'm really trying to tune into with my children, especially.
Mhm.
And one of the big ones is seeing them learn new things, which
Mhm.
is just like, it just like brings so much like spark to my life. I love it. Like even, I don't know if you guys are familiar with those like Love Every boxes of Montessori toys. Yeah. We were graciously gifted a subscription to that. And
Nice.
every time she figures something out, my older one, she always goes, Mommy, I did it. I did it.
so
Look it, I did it.
cute.
And I just can't get enough of it. So I try and look to those things because there are a lot of things about motherhood that I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. That's a common theme for me. I can't do this. This is really hard.
Mhm.
It is the hardest thing I've ever done is be a mom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think because part of it is that I spend a lot of time talking with other moms too. I'm like, how do other people do this? Like they walk around and make it seem like everything's fine and it's really easy, especially when you see them at Target. I always see
Your
other
kids
moms that-
tantruming?
Yeah, or you're there because it's like has to be your safe place for like the next 20 minutes and you're like gonna lose it. And then I see someone walking around with like 4 kids in their cart and they seem like everything's fine.
And they
I'm
look
like,
cute.
Everything's not fine.
Yeah.
Yes. But they've been in that same moment. Like the more we do this, the more I realize like it's such a universal experience of hard.
Yeah. Or like when you're walking out of the park with your kid in surfboard pose, aka like
Oh,
under one arm screaming and
yeah.
their entire body's flailing, and
Uh-huh.
all the other parents just look at you like, I've been there.
Good luck.
That's one of my joys. I've actually really been just soaking up every minute of breastfeeding my second. It has
Oh,
been a
yeah.
vastly different experience this time. Like,
Mm.
I just can't get enough of it.
So have you not had the Deemer?
I've experienced it, like, little hints of it a couple times, but nowhere near, like, the first time. I'm, like, already sad about the day she weans because I'm just enjoying it so much, which is,
That's
like, a weird thing to
amazing.
say. Also, I should listen back to this in, like, 6 months if I'm still breastfeeding and
Yeah.
remind myself that I said that.
Yeah. Does it feel healing?
Totally. I know this is not supposed to be a birth story podcast, so
Go for
I
it.
don't
Let's
wanna
go.
make it be like that, but
I
It's
think
important
yours,
though to your
yeah.
matrescence.
our second, and I say our because I've been, like, checking in a lot with my husband too, like, "How is this going for you?"
You're
Even
his
though
trauma therapist.
Yeah. We both have therapists that we pay to help us,
Okay.
by the way, that are not each other. The experience this time, like, on paper, like, a healthcare provider would be like, "This was medically traumatic," and it's actually been, like, incredibly healing. Like, our actual birth
Mm.
experience was, like, so beautiful. I look back on it so fondly. I think we were also just so relieved that she was here and safe,
Yeah.
and that I was safe, like, given what we had experienced earlier in the pregnancy.
Mhm.
But it was just so different, and, like, I wasn't scared about I wasn't scared. I think that's, like, a big thing.
Mm.
Like, I was like, I felt really heard by my care providers. I was like, I didn't feel dismissed. I didn't feel like I needed to expend every last bit of energy I had advocating for myself because I knew they had me.
Were there actions that you took leading up to that point to get you to that place in that relationship? Or did you just have an exceptional team? I guess I'm wondering about two things. First, the fear, if there are actions you took to help mediate the fear, and then also how to trust your care team.
Lots of therapy on the fear piece
Yeah.
and being really okay with, like, saying what I needed to my care team, or, like, even voicing, like, I'm feeling scared today. I'm feeling anxious. Like, I need to be seen again. And my care team was amazing and saw me weekly after my episode of pneumonia just to, like, check in to make sure I was okay, which
So
is, like,
starting at 14 weeks, they saw you weekly.
17 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
Not standard care at all. And I also knew that I was having a pregnancy that needed, like, my second pregnancy, that I needed OB care, that I likely was, going to have a surgical birth again by my choice. Like, I wanted that. And so I sought out a specific OB provider that I knew was just, I don't know. I like hesitate to even say it, but she's like super midwifey. Like,
Mhm.
and I went to her on purpose. Like, it wasn't like who was assigned to me. I sought her out. I would drive at times like 45 minutes to go to my prenatal visits because that's where
Mm.
she was that day. And I wish it wasn't that way, but I'm also just feel so thankful that I had access to get care from her
Mhm.
and all her partners. Like, sometimes I would be at the hospital in triage, or even the day that we had the baby and she wasn't there. She wasn't on call and we got care from someone else, and it was equally as phenomenal. So, and I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like I have all of my fish together. I say fish on this podcast.
I don't even remember how or when that started, but yes.
But I did not have all my fish together because the day I came home from the hospital, I definitely hit a wall. Like, physically took my flat hand and pounded on the wall because I was, like, so overwhelmed emotionally
Mm.
and clearly had reached my capacity of being able to cope with what was
Mhm.
going on. So, did not have everything together at all.
Okay, so when you have those moments, like, how do you get connected with yourself again? How do you get out about
I'm laughing only because that's, like, my biggest struggle. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, and my husband is, like, so sweet. He's like, "Maybe you should, like, take a minute.
You're like, well,
Do
I
you need
need
to, like,
a
take a
year,
bath?"
so
Yeah. I love to take baths. I'm a bath person. Like, when I'm not pregnant, like, exercising would be my way of getting a good release and getting some healthy, helpful endorphins circulating and not feel like I wanted to physically hit a wall.
I mean, did that help though? That counts.
I felt great after.
See? I mean,
Everyone around me was terrified.
way more efficient than a bath, honestly.
Okay, so what would you tell your clients? Like, if you see someone like struggling enough where they're, I don't know, like if
Hitting
you're
a
in,
wall.
I guess if it's that, you're like, all right, here's the therapist number. But like, are there like little
Totally.
things that you like recommend that women normally do, and do they work for you?
Okay, sidebar. I just want to speak for a second about rage
Oh,
Please.
please. It can
in
be more than a
pregnancy
second.
and postpartum.
Oh,
So,
please.
outside of the perinatal period, perinatal being like during pregnancy and then in the postpartum time, like up to a year postpartum. Outside
That's
of that,
all perinatal?
mhm,
Even that year postpartum?
mhm,
Oh, Emily's learning
Makes
things.
sense.
All right.
they would identify rage like maybe not under the umbrella of like depression and anxiety, but rage or like intense irritability are symptoms of perinatal depression and perinatal anxiety, kind of the umbrella of perinatal mood disorders. And
Oh.
so it's not, it can be its own thing, but it's often like a symptom of something else that's going on. And so I have to regularly remind the other people that I love in my life it's part of postpartum, can be part of postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Can't be. I want to specify again. Again,
That
not an
makes a
expert,
lot of
just
sense.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. Okay, the checklist, the standardized checklist. So most women, they give birth, they go back for a single postpartum visit,
Yeah.
right? Which is the biggest bullshit.
At
It's
bullfish.
6 weeks, a
weeks.
long
Yes.
time.
A
I'm
lot
like-
happens in 6 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm honestly obsessed with trying to figure out a way to make postpartum healing and better for women because it's actually just absolute crap. I think,
And
whatever.
it's always
Yeah.
going to be hard, right?
It's
There's
al-
never
yeah.
going to be a world in which it's not hard. But how is it hard in like a beautiful, transforming way, not in just like, I need to make it through?
Right,
Totally.
right. And I'm not going to get on a soapbox right now, but I do want to circle back to my initial, the sheet. Do you know what I'm talking about with all the questions where like, do you feel safe at home? Do you feel like
Oh,
all
sure.
of these things?
Like the mood questionnaire.
I think that's
Yeah.
the stupidest thing I've seen in my entire life.
I like that it asks you, are you sleeping too little or sleeping too much?
my
I'm like,
gosh.
this is a trick question.
Like, did a man write this? No,
The
I love
first time I
men.
had
Like,
to
I'm
answer it, I
but-
asked the nurse how to answer it. And she was like, I don't know, just guess. And I
Are
was
you
like,
it's like, are you overeating or hungry all the time? I'm like,
yes.
yes.
Duh.
I'm healing from having a baby.
Oh,
I think
my
it's one of the most useless
gosh.
pieces of like
There is
fake
one-
care out there.
There's one very helpful question on there, and it says, are you having thoughts of wanting to harm yourself or others?
Okay.
Which some
think-
people may not feel comfortable answering that question verbally. And so
Sure.
I have had people answer that question on the paper, which I had no idea. Like I would never have guessed. And
Sure.
so that can be a helpful moment for people to check in with themselves about that one.
By the
But,
time we get to
yes,
that point, though, aren't we a little farther along than we ought to be?
most of the time, yeah.
Like, isn't that just like super escalated?
Yeah, we should probably have talked about it like before
Yeah. So,
like pregnancy even ended.
right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious what you would add to that sheet or what would be more helpful.
I mean, I think that every person that's going through some sort of parenting journey, whether it be like the pregnant person, their significant other, their partner, or if people are building their family in any way, so like also through adoption, any way that this is transforming for people, they should have a therapist in some way. Like having an objective party that you can regularly check in with, I think is so beneficial, and somebody who's familiar or specializes in some way in like a parenting transformative way.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of therapists who have like a designation as perinatal mental health providers. That's a great opportunity. There are free online support groups for people who are pregnant
Do
for
you
mental health.
have
And we
a
can
few
link
of
it in the
those?
show notes too.
That'd be great.
The one that I utilized was Postpartum Support International, or PSI. It's
Mhm.
literally postpartum.net. It is so helpful. They have
Okay.
free online support groups for people who are experiencing mood changes in pregnancy, during, and after.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
They're great. You have to like sign a little waiver and disclose like your name and your address, just so if they have safety concerns, they know how to like contact you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But they're peer led, which is really cool. So it's often people who've experienced these these things before, which can allow you to feel super seen.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of this before.
No, me
They
neither.
have like really specialized groups. So they have, I mean, I'm sure there's always room for improvement, but they have like groups for spouses of people who have postpartum anxiety and depression.
cool.
They have groups for the spouse if they have postpartum anxiety and depression, which is also a thing. NICU families, for families who unfortunately have lost a baby in any capacity, things like that. So it's an amazing resource.
Huh.
And so really we should be asking that not so helpful questionnaire to both people when they come to the
Honestly.
visit.
And have them fill it out for each other if they're in
Oh,
a
yeah, maybe
partnership.
that's
Honestly.
more honest. Yeah.
Oh my
It's like Emily's
gosh.
goal setting nights, but with the mood questionnaire.
Yes. Wait, that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we should create a better checklist, and then we should,
Yes.
So outside of the useless checklist and the really useful resources you just provided us with, what are some top things that you would recommend moms do to heal? I mean, physically, like, are there supplements you like? Would you make dietary changes? I mean, I'm sure it's case by case.
I'm laughing because I'm like the worst person at feeding myself regularly. It's like the first thing to go for me when I'm stressed at all or tired or taking care of another human being.
Oh
I'm
my
like, oh,
gosh.
it's been a really long time since I fed myself.
I cannot relate. That never
Really?
goes for me. Yeah, never ever. I'm
That's
always
probably
eating.
a good thing. Actually, that is a good thing. It's at the bottom of the hierarchy of needs. So
True,
I
there you
actually
go.
think that if you and I, Callie, just weren't eating, our husbands would force feed us. Like, I think they know
Yeah,
enough
it's
about
not
our
good.
temperaments.
Yep.
I think it contributes to my rage.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be better if we all had that village, right? Like
Yes.
how people used to do it, and we weren't trying to go back to work right away, and we actually gave ourselves long enough to heal from like such this wild physical and emotional thing that's happening for both people and the baby.
Yeah.
Not to mention this other thing that's having its own emotional transformative experience of existing.
Mm-hmm.
I was so lucky to work in a practice before the one I work in now where we had the gift of time just because we had a smaller patient base. And so we got to have longer visits, but we would have a whole visit just talking about like postpartum planning, which was like awesome.
Wow. That is amazing.
So we would get to talk about like who are going to be your 3 a.m. people you're going to call if you are needing more support because you are having a lot of intrusive thoughts, or you're feeling like you need another person around, or you just can't do it anymore and you need somebody to come sit with you, or you just need to sleep for 2 hours or something like that. Who's going to help you with food, where you're going to get your meals from? Are you going to make those meals? Are you going to have to, order Instacart and make those meals after the baby comes? Can you make them before? Who's going to help you with laundry or yourself? Just like thinking about that stuff ahead of time so you're not waiting until it already needs to happen to be thinking about it. Who's going to be the person that you're going to talk to if you are starting to have thoughts that aren't like consistent with how your thoughts normally are, or you're having symptoms of postpartum depression? Who you're going to talk to for feeding struggles for your baby. Like, they're probably going to come up. Even if you've like breastfed successfully before, like every baby's different, right? Like, are you going to call a lactation consultant? Who is that lactation consultant? What's their phone number? Are you going to want to search for it when you're super sleep deprived?
Right.
Things like that.
That's incredible. And most of the things that you just mentioned, I didn't even think about until I was in it.
Right. Or like, do you have diapers at home? Like,
Right.
I think of that and I'm like, well, of course you need diapers for your baby, right? But like sometimes babies come 2 weeks before we thought they were going to come.
Or
Just
how many
be-
for you? Like 8? 8 early? Mine was socks. Like, I had prepared everything and then I started getting contractions in the morning. And I was like, for my first, I was like, I don't have any baby socks. And for some reason, like, I didn't think they would let me take Charlie home. Like, if he didn't have socks. So I'm like in contractions, running around Target, like hoping my water doesn't break on the floor. And I couldn't find baby socks. I don't know, like, if they were out of baby socks in Wausau, Wisconsin.
You were in the beginning of labor and you were running around a Target?
Oh, yeah. TJ Maxx, Target, Old Navy. I'm
socks.
just trying. Yes.
This
That's
is the
probably a good
difference.
distraction technique in
It
labor,
was
though.
actually because it was
That's
a
fair.
long labor.
Yeah, but time passed real well while you were shopping.
I don't think I have any socks for newborns. Like, I actually don't think that
I didn't
I
need them.
commend you for looking
So
for the
funny.
socks, but also probably the most useless piece of baby clothing.
They don't keep them on.
They fall off.
I
Yeah.
know. And like people were telling me that as I'm calling, like, I think I'm in labor. I'm buying baby socks. Why are you buying baby socks? I need
Yeah.
baby socks.
I also have, so there are several things that I start to get really angry at my partner about if they're like not totally in order.
Yes.
Mismatched baby socks is one of them. Because it's not about the baby socks, right, you guys?
No.
Like,
No,
and
it's
like
never about the thing.
logical me, who has now taken a nap today because my baby's at daycare for the first time, like knows that it's not about the socks. But like when I'm mad and ragey about the socks, I really think it is the socks. The other one is the pacifier, my poor husband. So I'm an over researcher. I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, but I have to like, especially when I'm feeling anxious, I optimize things. So like I have to find the perfect pacifier, the perfect baby socks,
Yes.
or the perfect muslin baby blanket that the
So you're
baby's
looking
going to
for
throw up all
hours
over and it's not
online.
going to matter.
Yes.
Yes. And like, and then if I'm really trying to control everything, it gets down to like, is this eco-friendly? What's the packaging like? Is it
Oh,
made
yeah.
in a like equitable facility? Like,
Totally.
Yes.
which I want to be able to have those things all matter every second. But the reality is that
They
then
can't.
I'm really unpleasant and I get ragey. So I found the perfect pacifier that the pediatric dentist approved of for us for our new baby. And I bought 4
Do you
of them.
have a pediatric dentist for your babies?
I did because my baby was tongue-tied.
Oh,
and I
yep.
needed to have a dentist do the
Yep,
procedure.
Yep.
Which, by the way, gaslit about that too. My baby was clearly tongue-tied and they kept telling me like, oh, it's fine. It's just because she's little. She'll get stronger. She'll get stronger. I'm like, it feels like someone has a vice on my nipples, but okay, I guess it's normal. Got the tongue tie release,
Yeah.
gained 1.5 pounds the first week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And it was instantly better. And I was like, oh, so
Can
they
I
don't matter,
just
huh?
also, that was traumatic for me to have a part of my perfect, pure, incredible baby like literally snipped.
Yeah.
So I'm just so wildly impressed with you for knowing that you had to advocate for that, because I was told that that was likely going to need to be the solution. And I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal, if someone hadn't directed me towards that solution, to go seek it out.
Yes. Yeah.
You can
I
just
hear
take
you.
the
You
kudos.
can take it. You can
I'll take the kudos. I was just like thinking, like, should I share that with my first child? I could see her lip was tied, which is like not super uncommon, but it was painful to breastfeed all the time and I didn't do anything about it. And she had trouble even drinking from a bottle. And then she fell on a pacifier when she was like 10 months old and like took care of it herself. And that was really traumatic. Like that
Yeah.
experience was like, and my husband remembers it so vividly because it was like messy. I'm sure it was incredibly painful, like mouth stuff,
Yeah.
ow, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, ugh, I don't want that to happen again. Yeah. I cried when the most recent baby, when she had it done at the dentist. Our provider, kind of controversial, did want us to like do some stretches for the tissue so that it didn't like reheal. And that was
Oh.
horrible. But the outcome was really great and I would do it over again. She's happier and I'm happier. And then because of the rage I just described, everyone's happier, right? Like
And now you have a pediatric dentist
now I have a
recommended.
pediatric dentist recommended.
Wait,
and
so what happened?
The pacifier. Oh, every time we can't find one of the 4 pacifiers I ordered, which are disgustingly expensive, I totally flip out. Like temper tantrum. It's super embarrassing.
Honestly, I totally get it. Like, I
And
had
I'm
a
glad that
visceral
other
reaction.
people are going to be able to hear about this.
You're giving them a little gift today.
Like people who trust me. But then my husband really, really calmly said, it seems like you're having a really emotional experience about these pacifiers. Why is that?
And did you say fish you?
I didn't have a good answer. I tried to like fight back for a second and then just stopped because I was like, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, I think the crucial thing here is the self-awareness, right? Like, this is why it's funny.
It's really funny now. In the moment, I think getting that angry is not comfortable, though. I will say that. If you're getting
Yeah.
that angry, you should reach out to your care provider. So they might be able to help you.
So
So
every single mother is about to be reaching out
yes,
to their care
sometimes
provider.
we need a little help.
We do.
Yeah,
We
I wish
do.
insurance always was good about paying for it.
totally. And that's why
Oh,
those free support groups.
That is an amazing
Yeah,
resource.
I don't get any kickback from them. I just utilize them.
That's incredible.
Very helpful.
that's awesome.
Besides mom rage, are there any other new traits that you've developed since becoming a mom?
This has been like actually a really beautiful way to reconnect. So
I've loved it.
I like really struggled with some mental health stuff when I was younger. And I think that this was like not younger too, but like before kids. Like that I've like really had to like make a concerted effort to work on my own stuff. And that's thanks to my partner also, my husband. He does really push me to, this sounds so corny, like try and be the best me that I can be. But like that I would say is like one of the core values of our marriage is like we both continue to work on our own things that are gonna help us bring more to our marriage in general, which for the past 2 years has been really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to work on all of that stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is like letting go of control. I am like a huge control freak, which I think makes me good at what I do, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I'm getting all the information about something so that I can use all that information in a way to like make informed decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But I've like had to let a lot of that go just in my own life and as a mom. And I think some of that was like the circumstances of how our first was born. And then I still fought it, you guys. I was like, oh, I didn't have any control over getting preeclampsia or when my baby was born, but I'm going to try and like do all these things to like do it perfect the next time, sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Eat the right foods and take the right supplements and exercise the right way and modify my body size. And it's going to fix everything. And then the universe was like, I don't know if you heard me. You can't control everything. Or actually, we don't have control over much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got pneumonia when I was pregnant and like was so sick from a cold, like almost dead, like critically ill, something that should never have happened, not on my radar at all. And then I still tried to control everything. And then again, they were like, no, no, no. I really don't know if you heard me. Like, this baby's coming early too.
I don't think it's corny at all when you say my husband and I, a core value of our marriage is to help elevate each other and be our best selves. I
Yeah.
think any marriage that I look up to, and these are people that I, in my community, that I grow from as individuals and also grow from learning about their relationship, that's a core tenet of why they're together.
Yeah.
And I think when you're strivers, when you're, always in pursuit of better for yourself and each other, that's just part of your personality type. Yes, it's a control issue, but it's also like, okay, well, I have to take responsibility and agency for what I get out of life, right? Like
Totally.
it's
Yeah.
hard. They're definitely connected. So it's not necessarily just a control thing. It's like, what am I just gonna like sit back and let it happen?
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean,
no.
I think there's some things that I've learned to sit back and let them happen, not about my marriage, because to be honest, like after 2 rocky pregnancies, it needs a little TLC right now.
Makes sense.
And my relationship, yeah, because I have not been the easiest person to be around. Like, yes, I experienced perinatal rage. That doesn't make it like pleasant for the other people around me. And so like there's definitely some rebuilding and some boosting up that needs and some love. And with parenting too. I would have loved for my kid not to fall in the pacifier. But also now she knows, fish around and find out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's some things that just have natural consequences that you just have to let it ride.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks for normalizing the relationship piece. I
Ugh.
don't know anyone who says that their relationship's like just fine or better after childbirth. I'm kind of like, are you delusional or lying?
Maybe both.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's really hard because I think one of the things that like I spend so much time now after my second, I wish I would have maybe acknowledged it sooner, like acknowledging the huge transformation that it is to become a parent for myself, that I forget that it's also happening to my partner and that it's a huge transformation for him too. Like his life has also changed and probably a little more suddenly than mine. Like I had a little bit of a buildup in like the ways that my body was changing, or a preview to be like, this will never be the same again. Things are pointing in different directions. Okay, can I tell you guys a funny story? And maybe a listener listening to this will know who gave it to us. But the day I came home from the hospital, there was like a cooler bag on our front porch of pulled pork, like home smoked pulled pork. Like this
Ooh.
was not bought at the grocery store.
Yum.
It was also like an insane amount. Like I don't know if they bought half a pig and smoked it, but it was like so much pulled pork. And King's Hawaiian rolls and a huge Costco thing of barbecue sauce. Like it was
Okay.
clearly intentional that this person was bringing us food that we could freeze so that we could nourish ourselves, which is really sweet. And no card, no text, no phone call. We have no idea who the mystery pork is from.
The
Did you eat it?
mystery pork.
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, did we smell it a little more like keenly than we would have if we knew who it was from? Yes. Did it cross our minds that this could be tainted mystery pork? Yes. It's worked out fine. Part of me is like, was this intended for someone else and I just stole somebody else's mystery pork? Like,
That's
I'm
a
still
village
worried at
showing up,
times.
though.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That is great.
Thank you. Guessing it's from someone in our neighborhood who doesn't want to take credit for it, but thank you for the mystery pork. Oh, the other thing that having kids has taught me, part of my matrescence, is like realizing that the world's very interconnected in a way that I didn't really understand before. Like it's provided me a little bit of like spiritual realization.
Hmm.
And I didn't grow up in a house that really fostered that in any way. And so it's been kind of cool to be experiencing that tied into my matrescence. But I didn't like obviously share with my neighbors that I wasn't feeling super connected to my husband. Like that would be, I hadn't really told anybody that, not even my husband. And I was going for a walk, and this like really magical neighbor of mine who is very in touch with the stars, like very hippie.
Mm-hmm.
She's like talking to me about her daughter who just had a baby, and then starts going into like her advice for new married couples who had difficult pregnancies. And I'm like, how did you know this? Like, you didn't even know I had a baby or that I was pregnant. And she starts telling me, she's like, yeah, like if I could just give people who are having a hard time in their marriage some advice, it would be to overlook the shortcomings and compliment the strengths. And I was like, started sobbing because the reason I was on a walk is because I was raging at my husband.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was like, you don't know how much I needed to hear that today.
Women just showing up for each other.
Yeah.
When my husband's eating cereal and crunching way louder than I think is an appropriate amount to crunch with cereal, I tell myself to compliment his strengths and to overlook his shortcomings in a mantra-like fashion.
Hi, everyone. It's Callie hopping on to give you a special promo code from our friends Amy and Paul at Forward Beverage. Forward Beverage Company creates soft cocktails that we know that you'll love, especially if you are pregnant or breastfeeding and really craving an elevated cocktail that you can enjoy safely. For your promo code, use RealMomHub10 for 10% off your online order. Again, that is RealMomHub10 for 10% off, and we know that you'll love everything that you try. So again, hop on to forwardbev.com and use promo code RealMomHub10 for 10% off your order. Okay, Katie, what makes you feel beautiful?
Okay, I've thought about this question a lot
Whoa.
Good.
because I don't have an answer.
Why do we keep asking this?
Because it makes people think, and I think it's a good reminder to maybe think of the things that make you feel beautiful and make them happen.
I'm going to paint my
feel
nails
like-
tonight.
Does that make you feel beautiful, Callie?
I think so. Until it
think
starts to
so.
chip and then I get rageful.
And we're back.
Sorry, back to you.
So like a kind of superficial thing that I can do to feel beautiful, like on the outside, is I like to get facials
Ooh.
from this one specific lady at a place that does facials quite far away from my house. But it's worth the drive because I look so fishing glowy after.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't afford to do
Yes.
it very often. So I love to get a facial to feel like materialistically beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes me feel beautiful, like as a whole human, like holistically, even on the inside, is when somebody else can take something off of my mental checklist
Oh,
without having to ask them to do it or having to tell them that it was on my mental checklist.
Yeah. We're
So it's
gonna
really
post that.
unrealistic because I'm asking them to read my mind. So
I
I'm
like
learning
that.
that I might have to compromise on my own thing that makes me feel beautiful and just tell people what's on my mental checklist and that I need help with it.
Yeah, but that's a heavy hitter. So, like, if you tell the right people enough times, do
Yeah.
they just intuit it and then you don't have to say it anymore? And then it's like magic in the future?
That would be my preference.
Yeah.
Does it manifest that way? Probably not.
I mean, yeah, we can manage expectations here, but you never know. Yeah,
Totally.
that's a good one.
I
love
love
it.
that.
Oh my gosh, this was too fun.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to say thank you and sign off. You guys keep chatting. My 4-year-old is done with this matrescence conversation. So, yeah, thank you,
Oh,
Katie. I'll leave it open. So nice to meet you. Bye. You've been listening to The Real Mom Hub. Our music is by Naomi O'Leary. You can find us on social at The Real Mom Hub. We're not the authority or even very educated on the medical issues discussed. Do your own research, talk to an expert, make your own decisions, and call us if you learn anything new.
If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram, or better yet, subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't, that's fine. We can all move on. Our purpose here is community, so if we've resonated with you, tell a friend.
Thanks for listening.